All right. Hey, welcome everybody to the stream. And thanks for watching this video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over how to set up Payload CMS with Astro.js. So we'll just take it from scratch where I'll have a Payload CMS project and have an Astro.js project and put them together, and ideally get a website built somewhat from those two different examples of software. So I love Payload CMS. I've heard such great things about Astro.js, so I thought it was time to just dive into it and start learning it. So there's not really any, we're gonna figure this out together. So I have no real agenda, no real plan, gonna get in and start diving in and start learning the software. So by the end of this stream though, we'll have a project from Astro that's working with Payload CMS. Confident of that. So I think that's it for the intro stuff that I need to say. Yeah, we'll just dive right in. But yeah, glad you guys could join. So why don't we start? I'll share my, why don't we start over here? I've got my terminal open, and I've just got a basic screen open, and I'm going to change my directory to my desktop, and I have a directory for all this stuff. So I've got my codes, and then I can do something like, I think it's in my tutorial repos. So I'll change directory to that, and then I'm going to make a new directory and call it Astro. And then we'll change directory into Astro, and I'm going to run pnpx create payload app. And so this is going to create, I'm going to do a blank template, Astro example. I'll do a blank template with MongoDB for Payload CMS and use pnpm there. And then I'm going to need Astro build. I'm going to also have to create that here. So I've got my Astro example, which really I need to rename that. So I will do that in just a second. So I think I can just do move Astro example to Astro payload. Let's make sure that worked. Yep, okay. And then I need to run npx create Astro at latest. And then I'll create an Astro project within the mono repo. So let's create that. Oh, shoot. Yep. Oops. I should have done npm create Astro latest. If I could read, that would be great. So we've got create Astro. And now it's launching. Should we create your new project? Okay, I do just type it. So I'll do Astro website. We'll just do a starter project and install the dependencies. Yes, with a new Git repo. And let that install. And what we really need to do is we're going to open up WebStorm because I don't have that open yet. And I'm going to open the project, desktop coding, tutorial repos, and we'll open up the mono repo at Astro, which you can't see quite yet. There you go. So now we have our Astro payload and Astro website. So in order to make this a mono repo though, we're going to add a package.json file to the Astro directory here. So let's do a new package.json, and I'm going to copy an example from Payload CMS, and I'm going to change this name to be Astro Payload Mono Repo. And so now I'll be able to, from this folder, run my dev scripts into my Astro Payload. So I need to change that, Astro Payload. and then Astro website. So in my Astro payload, I get my front end and my payload. I just need to delete the front end because I'm going to be using my Astro as the front end. So now that should be all I need for my package.json for my Astro mono repo. So that looks good. The test I don't actually need. That's just from the example because there is no test. And so then I think we're good here. And so now I've got my Astro payload, which we'll come back to in a second because we know how to use payload around here. We'll come back to it. So in my Astro website, I have examples over here to keep me straight, but we are going to need to look at our config here, Astro config, make sure that this is correct. So what we're going to do is first load. There's a few things we need to actually do import. So we're going to import node. So we need node from Astro.js node, and I think I need to install these dependencies, but I'm going to also import load environment from payload node. So I want to make sure though that I'm not leaving anything out from this example. So let's take a look here. Unused import, unused import. All right, so now we're going to output, and we're going to use the server and an adapter, which will be our node adapter, which will have a name standalone. And we're going to load our payload environment. So I like Payload CMS because it's headless. It doesn't need to run with next.js, so it's portable. I can deploy it anywhere. It doesn't need to be Vercel. I can do Railway. I can self-host it. It can be serverless. It can be server full. Either way. So Payload CMS is kind of like my go-to. It's all TypeScript, configuration based, all code first. So I don't have to worry about my hands being tied by a CMS provider because I get to create what I want from my Payload CMS. So I can fully configure it however I want it to be. There's no limitations other than my infrastructure. So that's why Payload CMS, why Astro, still working that out. But I do know it's faster. It uses less JavaScript to the client. So that's what I'm messing with today. I hope that answered your question about why Payload CMS. If not, ask specific questions. All right. So this looks good here. I think, what does this mean? Yeah, I need to run pnpmi. So I was actually going to talk about that tonight, but the resource I was going to use wasn't available. So this comes up a lot. So I'm probably not the best prepared to talk about Strapi, for example, but I do know that there are limitations with Strapi. There are some things that are built more out of the box with Strapi rather than Payload. So I think authentication, live preview, things like that are just kind of built into the software. And then once you get beyond basic functionality with Strapi, you start running into limitations, even I think on the self-hosted or community version, and then you need to upgrade. For Payload, there is no limitation, but that does mean that you have to completely do everything yourself. Authentication's built in, but user management, you need to build that. Live preview, you need to build that, etc. So there's a trade-off with Strapi. You pay for what I consider core functionality. But with Payload, you just pay to host wherever you want Payload to be, but you get to build out the functionality. If you have a solid development team, or you yourself are a developer, or you have a strong agency, Payload can make sense because you're not paying a provider in order to ship CMS and full websites. If you are probably part of an enterprise or somebody who doesn't have the time to develop or create custom solutions, Strapi might be a better solution. So there are pros and cons. I'm not fully prepared to talk about it, but I do have plans to actually have a video out to talk about that as well. All right, so let's run pnpmi. I have to make sure that I'm doing this correctly in my Astro mono repo. Oh. Expected double quoted property name in JSON, position 276. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Let's take a look. Oops. So that's not helpful. Yes, with Payload there, you can build out a visual editor. The built-in visual editor is an enterprise feature, so that is one thing that does get paywalled by Payload, but that doesn't mean you can't build it. It's just something that the core team doesn't ship natively. There is no cost per seat though. That's the main thing. There's a couple things that I love about Payload, but no cost per seat is a big one. That's a huge SaaS model where you pay for the software and you pay per seat for the software. But you own all your data with Payload, so you bring your own database. I'm going to use MongoDB in this video, but you can build I've said it a couple times now, you can build whatever you want with Payload CMS. It's just there is a bit more of it's not necessarily learning curve because it is TypeScript and it's Next and React and all that happy stuff. But at the end of the day, you can just do whatever you want with it. All right, so I need to take a look at my package.json first here in my website and get some stuff going. All right, so I need to change my directory to the Astro website, and I need a few things here. So first, yes, I need Astro. Then I need Astro.js node. And that version is going to be, we'll just do the latest. Well, if we run into issues, we'll fix them. And then we're going to do Payload, which I'm going to put at the same version, which is latest. I'm going to take these pins off. I don't like doing that. And then Payload app. And that's going to be workspace. And I don't know if I'm going to need to change that title. So before I run pnpmi here, let's go over to my package.json over on Payload and make sure I just get everything set up properly. Haven't worked a whole lot with mono repos, so this is fun as well. All right, so I've got my Payload CMS cross.inv, which I don't really need, but I'll leave it. GraphQL, which I hate, but I'll leave it. Next, Payload, React DOM, Sharp, and then my MongoDB. Perfect. And then my UI. So now I can run pnpmi here. Oh, I need to find Payload app. Let's change the name of what I'm doing here. Nope. Oh yeah, that is interesting. You might want to write about that, or maybe don't so people can keep doing it, but you know, what can you do? All right, so I need to rename my package.json. This needs to be Astro example. Let's try this again. Okay. Let's first change directory. And we'll go to, oops, Astro payload. I may need to change the name of that. Let's do PM. I think everything is up to date there. We have Astro example. Astro payload app. We have Astro website, and we have Astro example. Oh, wrong thing. And then Astro website. So we have Astro example at workspace is in the dependencies, but no package named Astro example is present in the workspace. So why don't we try Astro payload? Maybe it doesn't need the name there. Oh, yep, that should work, but sure, have one time. Dang, man. So is in the dependencies, but no package named Astro payload is present in the workspace. Okay, name, maybe it's type I need to change. Type module version. So let's take a look. Here are some exports, which I think I need to do. So let's add those. I am using an example on the side here to see how all this works together. But it's hard to know. Type module, license, description, version, and name. Why don't we change this then to payload app, just like I see in the example. And you guys get to watch me stumble through how to set up a mono repo. Oops. So let's go back over here. Payload. Now let's go to our website. We'll go to our package.json, maybe tsconfig. Let's find out. So we're going to go over to our tsconfig, make sure that this is good. Extends, good, that's perfect. We don't need the git ignore. We'll come over. Nothing different to do with our next config either. Tsconfig maybe here. I will figure this out. Best thing to do here is just copy this, paste. Here, let's start with this. Let's get rid of that. And let's just install the things that we can install. Great, so all of that should install. We should see over here in our, let's do this the right way. In our Astro config, we should see all of this come through. So name must not be what the actual thing is here. So let's go back over to our to our Astro config. It's mode, Don't know how I mixed that up. So now we've got standalone here. Then we've got our Astro website. So let's go in to our Astro package.json, add this back. And so we're still getting the same issue. Payload app at workspace is in the dependencies, but no package named payload app is present in the workspace. All right. That's because I forgot to add something naturally. Okay. So in our mono repo here, I'm going to add a new file, and that's going to be a pnpm workspace.yaml. And then I'm going to add the packages, which will be Astro payload and Astro website. So now I can save that, run pnpm-i. Expect a double-quoted property and name JSON. So JSON Astro website. Oh, I think it's because I renamed my app here to payload app. So I think I'll leave it as that because I have it elsewhere. So payload app. I feel like I'm still forgetting something here. So I've got my pnpm workspace. Oh. Astro payload. Astro website. Let's change Astro payload back to Astro payload. And then our package here back to Astro payload. Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm trying to think what I'm missing here in this example. Because I see that expected double quoted property name in JSON at line 12, column 13. Well, first of all, if that's the problem. Okay, I'm mad. Yep, caught it right at that moment. Thank you. I don't know why that was a huge issue, but I accidentally left a comma here. Everything should be working just fine now. So now if I go up to my Astro, we'll do first pnpm dev payload, just so we can open up our payload instance. And let's actually go to admin. Oops. So we'll see how all of this works. If it does at all. Perfect. Okay. That makes me happy. So I'll use my normal test user. And I have users and media. Perfect. So that's great. One thing I should do is I'm going to create really quickly in my source collections. I'm not going to do this really best practices, but we've got our posts.ts, and then we'll create a new pages.ts. We'll import a collection config from payload. We'll export a constant called pages that will need a slug called pages, and then fields that will be an empty array until we add a type of, we'll say text, name, title. Then we'll include a slug field, which expects that title name to create the slug for me and that slugify function. And then I haven't heard of Cockpit CMS. I'll look into it. I'm always interested in learning more things. It's kind of like my whole thing, learning all of these technologies so people can watch me struggle. All right, so we'll do a slug field. We'll do a text. And let's do, sure, we'll try and throw in a rich text here. I haven't done a rich text from scratch in a while. So we'll do rich text and we'll just call this body. And that's it. Then we'll just copy this. We'll paste it over to posts. Posts.ts. We'll do a slug field, text title. Let's make title required because I don't want to do a bunch of type checks later. And rich text required. Do the same thing here. Required true. Perfect. So that's about all we need here. Then we go to our payload config and register these. We'll do posts. And we'll do pages. We'll save. Types are there. Then let's open up another terminal. And we're going to do pnpm dev. I think I did website. And we'll see what this does for me. Localhost 4321. There we go. We have an Astro site up and going. Cool. All right, so let's generate some posts right quick. So we'll do post 1. This is some text for post 1. This is bolded text. So I'm trying this because I want to see how rich text is rendered by Astro. And if I have to do any, like if there's any caveats or anything that I need to figure out that way. This doesn't need to be very long. I can save, slug gets generated. Let's duplicate, make post 2, unlock and generate. So we'll have post 2, save that, do the same thing. We're gonna duplicate, we're gonna have 3 posts. Text for post 3. And then we're going to generate the slug again. We'll hit save. Run over to our pages. We'll do a home page. This is the home page. Yay. Again, just a little bit of stuff here and there. We'll do a home page. We'll do an about page. And then we'll do a contact page. Unlocked, generate, save. Okay, so we now have a couple of collections with a couple of documents set up for our Payload CMS. All of that stored in our database, which we can see here in our API, stored as JSON data. So now we're going to try and render this over onto my Astro front end. So that's going to be fun to figure out. So the first thing we're going to do is we're probably going to put all of this onto one page for our Astro website for now. So let's go over to Astro. We've got our pages. So let's look over Astro website source. Look at our pages. Perfect. All right, so let's take a look at our index.astro file. I'm going to install the Astro plugin because I apparently didn't have it on WebStorm. So let's do that, and let's see if I have to restart. Nope, perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to import get payload from payload. We're going to import our config, not configure. We're going to import config from Astro payload. Then we've got our welcome and our layout. That's fine. What is this saying? Yeah, I didn't think that was going to work. What have I called this again? So, Astro payload, that should be right. But it could be here. Yeah, no, that's, we'll give it a second and we'll correct it if we need to. All right, so now we can get a constant called payload where we're going to await get payload config. Then we're going to get our posts, for example, and we're going to await our payload.find. We'll do collection, we'll do our posts. I don't want to sort, but I do want to see. So let's go into our welcome here. Oops, welcome. Oh, I haven't seen HTML in so long. Okay, well, I can do this. So up here, we're going to import a few things. Sure, we can keep the Astro logo in the background. We're going to import our type of post from our payload types, which I don't think I need to do all of that. It should just be Astro payload. Okay, that works here. It's fine, it's whatever. And then we're going to import, again, our type of paginated docs from payload. So I think this is going to throw some errors. We'll figure it out here in a second. We're going to create an interface called props with our posts, and we're going to have that as paginated docs with our post type. And then we're going to have our constant of posts, and that's going to be Astro props. All right, so I'm going to keep the same image, the same main here, same section, same image here, H1 section, and then here under, or let's, instead of what's new in Astro 5.0, let's go ahead and we're going to do a section called it's going to be an ID of posts, just so we can style it however we need to. Then we'll do an H2, and this will be posts from Payload CMS. Then we're going to do an unordered list. We'll call this our posts list. Inside the unordered list, I imagine that this is just, at this point, React. So we'll do posts.docs.map. Then we'll have a post. Inside the post, we'll get our post card. Then we'll have an H3, which will be our post title, get data the way we always do. I want to see something here. So there's a script going on down here. So we can do actions, and we may do that here in a second, but let's just get stuff going for now. So we'll do our post title. And then I don't have anything for links quite yet. So if I just save this, load up Astro over here, there's an error because I need to figure out my Astro payload package again. So the package may have incorrect main module exports specified in its package.json. Likely. So let's go over to our exports here. I don't know what this does. So let's go ahead and get rid of that and see what happens if I Well, I know what line that is. I don't need to open that. Okay. So failed to resolve entry for package Astro.js. Oops. All right, let's see what Google has to say about this. Okay, that's not at all what I'm looking for. Okay. Oh. All right, let's try your thought here. So we're going to go to the root here. That's where we're at. Do p-npm hi. Okay. But first, before I do that, let's make sure Astro payload monorepo. Scripts is fine. I don't need anything else here, so run that. Already up to date. And then we go to the workspace. Astro payload, Astro website. Astro website, that is correct. Astro payload, also correct. Okay. So we could do Astro payload, Astro website. Just thinking this through a little bit. So let's look at our Astro package.json, build dev preview, Astro website, in Astro payload workspace. Unless this needs to change, the asterisk. Unless I need to add workspace to the end, which I shouldn't. Oh, sorry. Keep hitting stuff. Okay. Okay, workspaces. I don't think I have that included. All right, so yeah, that's why I'm confused too. So let's do website, oops. Astro website, p-npm I. Yeah, it's up to date. So this should be correct. Payload is all on the same version. Payload wasn't an issue, it's only Astro. So let's do I maybe need to call it? No, because that's just a script. My guess. All right, so over in Astro, it's import config from Astro payload. it's asking to install types as a dev dependency. Do I need to add the dev dependency? We can try it. I don't see why I would need to, though. Yep, that's not it. The package may have incorrect main module export specified in its package.json. Astro payload. So there it is imported in Astro. Yeah, I'm going to undo that, but just looking. Oops. Get rid of that. Oh. Well, so config for Astro payload. Not finding the right types. So if that's the case, then this is where the types are. So we can try that, but that's not going to work either. Yeah, so why is it saying cannot find module, Astro payload? Maybe I need to set something up in how payload is exporting. So let me take a look at that. Okay, so let's look at our configuration for payload real quick. Astro payload. Okay, so it's not going to be anything in the scripts. The type is module. Exports you said was correct. Name is Astro payload. Dependencies and dev dependencies. Engines is fine. Node np npm. So all that should be correct. Let's look at our tsconfig here. Let's try something real quick, because I changed this. Yep, still the same issue. We have incorrect main module. Okay. This is the fun stuff. All right, so let's look at our next config for I don't want this right now. I don't want this right now. Just taking things out that I might not need. Okay. Oh, you know what it might be? I might be a big old dummy. Let's see here. Let's change directory to Astro payload. And we're going to do payload generate types. pnpm run generate types. Okay, not that. So we have node modules. We have our pages. I'm pretty sure all of that is imported correctly. Payload. Maybe payload config needs to change. Let's take a look. We can go to our source, payload config. TypeScript is right. All right, so everything within the payload config is correct as well. Oh. We'll see if this works, but I think I know what I did wrong. I didn't add, everything's pointing to that index.ts file. I didn't create that index.ts file. Oops. Let's go ahead and just restart all of this completely. We'll see if this works. It still doesn't work. And those, oh, what's this here? Cannot find module. Okay, what did I do this time? Okay, so is that a different error? Yes, different error. Progress. Okay, but now we might be able to fix this. All right, so cannot find module, collections, posts imported from there. Cannot find module. So source, so it needs to be, no, yeah, collections, posts. Yeah, this one is definitely payload. Find module. Don't think that's going to do anything, but we'll see here. Okay, we also need to add the posts here. Type string. Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay. So still an error, but now I'm sending everything how it should be sent. So package.json, Astro website. Astro payload. So now we have, where is this? So it's definitely pointing to the index. That's good. So cannot find module, collection, posts. There. Okay. No, this isn't where I wanted to be. I need to take a look real quick over at my Astro website. No, okay, so that didn't install like I thought. Okay. So let's think about this some more. We got our collections. We could simplify this a little bit more real quick. So no, I don't want to do that. Okay, so we've got environment example, which we don't really care about that. So now PNPMI, everything should be up to date. Okay. All right, let's read this. Cannot find module, collections post imported from here. So let's go back to our index, our Astro, index.astro, and our pages. And we get our get payload and we get our config from, let's do import config. So it's still here. That's definitely not going to help. All right, so this might be where an LLM might come into handy. Let's see what we can do here. This isn't cursor. All right, I don't want to do that here. Let's just do Claude. I promise I don't rely too much on this, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. All right. I'm getting from line 3 this file, installing types as dev dependency. Doesn't work. So AI is AI. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes this helps. All right. Sure. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit larger. Oh, this is using the JetBrains NCP. We'll see if that helps or hurts. All right, it's investigating. It's not a big project, so this shouldn't take too long. All right. Excuse me. I guess I can use this as a water break. There we go. TypeScript declaration file for Astro payload. Since it's in the workspace, hold on. Since the workspace, we need to ensure TypeScript knows how to resolve it. Let me modify the TS config JSON mapping. Okay. And I'll investigate what these changes are. I can't leave it unknown. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at what it's done. But first, let's make sure that Claude did what he was supposed to. Doesn't look like it. But that does give me an idea, because I think at one point I changed my TS config for, let's go, where's my stuff? Okay, so we got our website, TS config. We'll just copy it from the example. Astro payload. Okay. So that's different. We'll hold on to that. Then we've got our TS config here, which I'll copy, paste here. All right, so it's the same issue. And so I'm going to copy the stack trace and put it into Claude. So what it did though, so I can see to get rid of that error, even though the project isn't working, to get rid of the Astro payload not being found issue, it came into the TS config and it added in the Astro website TS config paths to Astro payload, and so it has the source index.ts, that's where we find Astro payload, and then all of its children directory as well as a path. So it's just added this compiler options option for the TS config. All right, so now let's figure out why I'm getting this error, cannot find module collections posts. I have no idea if this JetBrains MCP is actually helping me or hurting me. This is going to make a great video when I get to edit it. It's going to be like 10 minutes long compared to we've been going for an hour now. All right. Oh, is this really going to be an alias issue? Oh boy. Okay, so it's going to try and verify the... I don't need it to run build. All right, so now I need to add okay, we're almost there, I promise. So one other thing that I forgot to do is add the environment variables to my Astro site. So we're going to add to my Astro website environment variables. We don't want to add that to Git, so I'll just hit cancel. What just happened? So we have node modules here, node modules there. Environment variable here. Oh, shoot. So let me try that again. I need to copy my environment.file from Astro payload into Astro website. And now we're going to need to restart this. And now we have everything working. So the payload secret is required everywhere that payload runs. So that's why that wasn't working. Now we need to go back and investigate why our import resolution wasn't working. So if I go over to my payload config, we can see that collections users gets changed here. So for me, it was using the alias, the @ symbol alias. So let's just to make sure that that's true. If I change this back to my @ sign, that breaks because Astro, how I have Astro configured, doesn't recognize that. So now we've got a clean project. We've got our posts down here, and then we've got Astro up there. So now for the fun stuff. Let's come back over to our index, or sorry, our welcome page. I don't want this hero section, or maybe I do. I do want the hero section, but I want to bring this section into that main. Okay, let's just get rid of the hero section. Oh, good night there. Thanks for hanging out. All right, so we've got our posts 3, 2, and 1. We can do a style. So I'm going to keep the background. What else do we have? I've got container, I've got background. main has height, display flex, hero doesn't exist, so let's get rid of the hero. We'll get rid of our h1. We're going to keep our links here. So let's go over to our index.astro. Nope, sorry, our welcome.astro again. It's up here that I wanted. So I do want to create these as links. So let's go ahead and sorry, here we go. Not what I wanted. All right, so we'll do an A tag here. And then I need to add my href. I am curious though. Import link. I wanted to see if there was a link component from Astro, but let's take a look. So I am not wrapping this correctly, but that's fine. We can actually do it like this. Let's do this as a div, and then these class postcard. Get rid of these. There we go. Okay. So now let's bring up the Astro docs. First thing I want to look up, is there not a search in the docs? Well, maybe I need to get to the documentation first. So let's go to resources. Nope. It's community. Oh, read the docs. All right. So first I want to see link between pages. Perfect, just typical links like that. All right, but what we need to see is we're going to do the href is going to be our posts, and then it's going to be our, not our post ID, our post slug. I don't think I have to do that. Oh wait, no, I do, I think. And then we'll do what just happened? No, that's right. There we go. Okay. Forgot how to do that for a second. All right, so now I can see down at the bottom, there's post 1, post 2, post 3. So now we need to generate a page. So Astro supports the following file types, file-based routing. So now I want to look up routing. So that then, thank you. So I should be able to go into pages, add a directory, and call it posts, I assume. Then within posts, well, let's wait. Yep, no, that's right. And then we can do a new file called index.astro. I appreciate that. I do plan on making an edit out of this to turn it into somewhat of a tutorial. I did have some hiccups in the beginning of setting up the mono repo, so appreciate if you do watch it all the way back, but there will be a video edited version of this coming out, so you can either wait for that or watch it back. It's always good to see the struggle sometimes, you know? All right, dynamic routes is what I'm looking for. So we'll need an index.astro, and then I'm going to do a new file, and then this is going to be, we'll call it posts. Nope, I want slug.astro. So then This is the stuff that I need to learn how to do. But it doesn't seem very difficult. So let's look at dynamic routes. So oh, I'm so sorry. Let me look back at your comment. So I remember you asking me a question. I may not have an answer. But I can take a look. YouTube is the worst at giving me follow-up comments. Where are you? Yeah, Hermit Vault. I see you. Okay. Have you... Yeah, literally. So I will say, just based on like the initial part of your comment, I've never had an issue. Like even during this video, I had no problem initializing a payload project. So maybe at least watch that part of the video and see if that gives you any help with it. I also do have a plan. I see you are working with Python. I have a plan, not maybe next stream or the stream after, but I want to try working with payload and Flask and see how that works. I kind of want to just get a little unhinged with it. But anyway, Astro. Okay, so I'm not going to get the static paths yet because that's going to take me a sec. Well, maybe it won't. Okay. Here I am learning Astro a bit as we go. So I do understand this. So we're going to export a function we'll call get static paths, and then in here we're going to return an array. But from here I'm going to import get payload, from payload import config from Astro payload, which does its thing. Then we're going to import type posts, not from there, from, oh, I should just be able to do config type post, I assume. No, I need to do this differently. So I import it this way. So I'm going to just copy this, come into the slug. There we go. So all of that looks right. Then we're going to do an interface, not state, but we'll do props. And then we'll do posts are paginated docs post. Oh. There we go. So we have our props from our posts. Then we're going to initialize payload, do await, await get payload, pass in the config. Now we need to get our posts. Nope, that's not what I need. Astro props. So now we can return our posts dot posts.docs, right? well, oh, I never found it. Okay, so now I need to get my posts by doing await payload.find collection be our posts. It's going to be all of them, so we'll do a limit of 0. Then we'll return post docs doc. Then we'll return our params slug stock slug. All right, so all of that should be good, but then to make sure that this actually works, we'll do div, and we'll do this is, no, I don't need to do all that. Const slug equals Astro params. I think I did this incorrectly, but we'll take a look. All right, so what is this doing? We'll take a look. All right, so if I go to post 1, perfect. So that does work. So I can get my slug. So this just means I can take out whatever I want. So I can do my slug, my title, and my body. So if I do oh, not quite. So I can get my slug, and then from here I can then const payload equals wait get payload. Wait, no, I already did that. So now I can get my post instead and do await payload.find. Do a collection of posts. We'll limit it to 1 where slug equals slug. So now I can get my post.title, or I still can't. Oh. Don't know if this is actually how this works. Doesn't look like it. All right. So we're going to figure this out. Maybe I don't need that. So I can do single post. So, oh, I need slug. So I still need slug. Oh, let's try this. So instead of slug here, let's get post. Post params. Get post params slug. Then there we go. Took a second to figure it out, but we got there. So now we have our, we'll do a main here. So this is not going to have any styles, but that's okay. We'll do an H1. And then we will do post 1 shows up. Good to see that. And then one thing that I do need to see is we're going to try and import rich text Yeah, so we need to see, I think there should be a built-in Payload CMS rich text component. Yes, so we're going to we could make this as our own component, so I will do that. Yeah, so I'm not sure that this is going to work like I want it to, but we could do rich text to HTML. Well, let's see. So we'll go to our components. Interesting. We're going to see how this works. All right, so I'm going to create a directory called components, and in it I'm going to create a new file called richtext.tsx. So this is why I wanted to use rich text, was to see how I'm going to get it into my Astro project. So we will then import my component. Let's see what happens. Missing components, rich text in Astro payload package. Oh, should be data. Okay, so let's go to our Astro payload package. Export component from components rich text. Okay, so let's try it then in my Astro website. Okay, so far it looks good. Nope. Well, let's see, even without the types. Let's see what happens. So we're going to come over to our slug Astro. And then we're going to import this instead from components. Wrong components. This component's rich text. All right, so that means if I go to my package.json, I only have payload installed. So if I do React 19.2.2. And then I get over my Payload CMS, lexical, rich text lexical. Okay, so let's just get this. And we'll see if this works. If not, I can just get my HTML. I need to run pnpmi. Okay. Now I can run dev again. We'll see if this works. No valid renderer was found for this. Oh. Astro.js. React. Is it the same? Let's do Astro.js React. See if this works. I am determined to figure this out because rich text is a huge part of what we're trying to do. But it may not work this way. Okay, so I don't think this is going to work like I want it to. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. So that tells me, well, let's check first. Using Payload CMS rich text in Astro.js. Okay, so let's do it this way. We're going to go to yes, this will be fine. All right, so we're going to go back to our posts, rich text. We're going to get our lexical HTML field, which let's make sure this is not the deprecated one. Okay. And going to be rich text. HTML field name will be HTML. So now that field, we're going to generate our types. Oh. We need to change directory first. Then we can run our generate types, but it has to be pnpm run generate types. Now I can run dev payload. And then I have to come over to payload and refresh. Go to our API. We should have an, oh shoot, no. I did all of that wrong. So let's, oh, this is pages. Let's go to posts. we've got our body. Now we have our HTML. Perfect. So I should be able to go over to our Astro slug. Instead of using my component, I should be able to use a div. And we're going to insert our post HTML. I need to get rid of that. And then I assume this as well. There we go. So now I've got HTML showing up, but of course that's not helpful. So let's go. I don't have my dangerously set HTML. Because I don't know how to do it. Set HTML as post HTML. Now I can see this is some text for post 1. This is bolded text. Then I can do post 2. I see that as well. And then post 3. So that's perfect. Then I don't have anything in posts. So why don't we set that up real quick and then make sure our links work and then call it a night, because I think I've been going long enough here. So we're going to go to our index.astro for our posts. Just making sure I do this right real quick. Oh, cool. So I could do, instead of this, and I think I want to do this, I'm going to delete this, and then in my pages, I'm going to do a file, and I'm going to call it posts.astro. And then what I want to do is, first of all, just add a div within h1 of posts. And we can see that there. That's perfect. Now, I want to see something unrelated, but I do need to see. I assume, do I do something like metadata? Nope. Just trying to stumble my way through real quick. So if I go to index, so if I go back to the home page, then whoops. Astro basics. So that must come from the layout. Sure does. And the layout is in layouts, layout.astro. So I want to figure that out later. Yeah, I want to see how to do like metadata stuff here. Add site metadata. There we go. But I imagine it's just like any other templating aid. Yeah, so you can just call the title, which makes sense. So if I go here, I can do const title equals test posts, set that equal to Astro props. Oh, interesting. So then I can do title here and then do, that's very interesting. Oop. This may crash here in a second. We will see. I should close out payload. Let me see if I can end that session real quick. Move that. Oh, it's just WebStorm not responding. All right, so let me kill WebStorm real quick. All right, let's try that again. All right, so what I was doing is we've got our constant title is equal to, and then set Astro props. Then for the title, I'm going to set this as test posts. Run pnpm dev website, because that's all I really need. Nope, not true. I think if I load this, it's not going to work. Guess it will. Oh, that's right. It's getting it from, not the server, it's getting it from the database. Perfect. So now I can go to our posts and I can see when I add my title. Interesting. WebStorm stops working again. We're going to try that one more time. There we go. We have test posts. For some reason, WebStorm didn't like doing that. So now let's get our stuff. So just like I did over here in index, I'm going to get my payload, get my config. Then I'm going to constant payload equals wait. Get payload, get our config. Then from there, we're going to do our posts, payload.find collection posts, limit 0. Props, Astro props. All right, that was helpful. Now I can do we're going to do an interface of props, which we're going to have our posts as paginated docs of post type. Then we're going to have a div where we're going to have our posts docs dot map, not return. I can just do this. Don't think I need a key, but that's okay. Then we'll do our post title. And if I go to test posts, that should show up. Symbol posts has already been very interesting. So data fetching. That's the part I'm missing. Okay, yeah, I don't need the key here. So if I refresh now, there we go. The post is there as well. So I just had to put the await here because it was sending through an undefined to my post. I just want to see, they have a guide for Payload CMS, so I just want to see what they have for their data fetching. Yep, so they don't send through Astro props. Perfect. So I'm well within reason here. So we have our test posts. Then instead of div, I can do an A tag, which will have an href of my posts post slug. Then I want to actually sort negative created at, so that should change. Nope, just created at. There we go. Now we can do some quick styles and then call it a night where, if I don't break this, which I think I just broke it, okay, so I don't typically have these kinds of issues with just developing in Payload. So we'll do one pixel solid. And then we'll do a padding of 1 rem. If I save this, let's do dark blue so we can see it. Then we'll do margin 1 rem at all, 0 1 rem. Go. Border radius 1 rem. Perfect. So now if I click on any of these, they just look different. And then we could do something like box shadow, just do 0.5, sure. No, I think that needs to be a pixel as well. There we go. So very 1990s, but we've got these links nice and styled, and I can click into any of them and get our post one. So one last thing is in this get static path, it seems like I need to export const pre-render equals true. What have I done? So if I go back to posts, that's good. Post 1. Posts is not defined. Here, let's try restarting the server really quickly. Yep, there it is. Okay, so I just broke it. All right, so I'm going to call it quits here. What we did today is we created a mono repo, we added Payload to that mono repo, and then we added Astro to that mono repo. We then got Payload CMS and Astro to communicate with one another, and then we added our posts to our homepage. I guess I should go to... We added our posts to our homepage, and then we added a post index page and individual post pages. We did all of that with Astro and Payload CMS. We had to do a couple of things with rich text, which we needed to use the HTML converter instead of a rich text component. That's not a big deal as long as you're okay using HTML, which honestly you should be. And then with that, we got basic data fetching set up with Astro and even figured out a little bit of the metadata and how that works in Astro as well. So lots of good stuff here. Astro is one of the fastest frameworks for JavaScript. It only sends the JavaScript necessary to the client, which is great. It sends less JavaScript, which means faster websites. And then Payload CMS is, in my opinion, the best CMS, especially, it's the best headless, and Payload CMS is the best headless CMS in my opinion. We can run it with or without next.js. Here we used it as a headless CMS. I can run it at the same time as my Astro site and build out my CMS alongside my front end without even touching next.js. Don't have to use it at all. So this was really cool. I really enjoyed using Astro. I hope you enjoyed following along. But that's it for this video. Don't forget to subscribe. If you found this content helpful, make sure you subscribe so you can see whenever I post anything about Payload CMS, Next.js, Astro, anything about modern web dev. I have a newsletter called Next in Dev where I talk about the changelogs, about Payload CMS and other web dev technologies, as well as things like AI and the things that just impact the web development industry overall. So tons of ways you can communicate with me. So feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. If you have comments or suggestions, please leave those in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, and I do listen to your ideas and make videos based off of those ideas. So that's it for this one, but that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next video. And so that's just how I'm going to close out. Like, I wanted to be able to close out the actual edited video later on. I'm sticking around for a couple of minutes. If y'all have anything that you want to talk about, anything you want to say, anything about the stream, anything not about the stream, doesn't really matter. Love to hear from you. Love to talk about it. Love to see how things are going with you guys. And I'm going to check a few things. Well, I'm waiting around for a bit for some comments. All right. I guess I'll call it quits here then. Now I can stop recording too. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Astro.js is kind of neat. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know about it, but it was way easier to pick up than next.js in my opinion. So I might do some more with it. If I can figure out better like practice with it, I might pick it back up. But next.js to me is just kind of second nature. So I stick around with that for as long as I can. But all right, I'm going to stop rambling now. Thanks y'all for hanging out. I'll see you on the next video.